Good day, viewers. It's I, NitroSilverNigel or NitroSilverNigel. Whatever you call me, it's all good. I'm here to tell you about an awesome OC from my favorite website, Canterlot Avenue. Now, as you do this, you must remember the old rule. Attention, please do not attempt to steal the images of the OC from this video. These images were commissioned and not your property copy. These artists have worked hard for this and don't steal it well. Please contact the content creators behind this video and any other. If you need help creating OC, please contact the email below on screen. Thank you for your time for reading this and watching this video. The pony name is Zesty. Quite odd, isn't it? It's in Leet. That's how you say it, right? Leet? Hold on a chocolate second. Does this mean he's related to Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland? Zeshire was born in Canterlot and lives in Ponyville. He is a geneticist with a PhD. Zeshire grew up in Canterlot. His family is a long line of modern nobility, and money wasn't scarce. The parents was very rich, but thankfully Zeshire was not spoiled like most would have been. His father was a politician, working on one of the courts of Canterlot, and his mother was a botanist. Wow, looks like we finally broke the curse of ponies with having bad parents. At a very early age, Zeshire became interested in animal life, plant, and life in general. This interest would stay with him the rest of his life as he studied to become a geneticist. He wasn't one of the most popular cults in the school that he went to. Zeshire wasn't the nerdy type neither, so no fan fiction on teen years on him. He was a wallflower indeed. It didn't come to a surprise that many years later he came out of the closet as a gay stallion. No pony really cared, and that was fine by him. While these teen years always were the hardest. After Zeshire graduated, he went to the university where he studied genetics for 5 years. When he was finally into the 5th year, he took a PhD in genetics and started to work at a biological research lab close to his home in Canterlot. Seemed like a nice fit life for this pony. That's when the Fire Nation attacked. Wait, wrong script. That's when the accident happened to this poor unfortunate soul. If you're still watching a video about this pony, then this pony may look very different from other ponies. Was with the cat's eyes and the blue stripes? Well, before I can tell that story, I must tell you this story. At the time, the biological facility where Zeshire worked at was experimenting with gene splicing through magical means. To achieve the raw magical power output they needed for the experiments, they created a series of magical crystals, each influenced with a ton of magic. It took about 3 months and several hundred unicorns to charge them up to their peak capacity. Zeshire was in charge of the setup, and the objective was simple enough. Nothing almost can go wrong with this. They came across the task to spice the blood together. For this, there were 2 blood tubes of various species, one from a cat and one from a bird. But it's just off. One prey and one predator? Well, let's see how this turns out. The researchers were hoping to prove that splicing was possible through these means. The problem was that through the cat blood had been introduced in the chamber where Zeshire was setting up the crystal. And what happened next was a tragedy. It slipped out of those small hoods of his and crashed onto the floor, blasting the entire room and several sections of the lab with intense magic. And sadly, Zeshire took the brute force of it. Several ponies around the facility were treated with severe magical radiation poisoning, which is now a thing. The test did what it was supposed to do. However, it fused Zeshire's genes with cat blood. Now just imagine a slice of animation with Zeshire taking the place of Danny from Danny Phantom. You got that animation in your head? Let's continue on then. Zeshire was knocked unconsciously. Of course, he didn't wake up later until 2 months later at the hospital and got a few good looks of his body. He didn't mind the coma compared to this. Sure, it didn't look bad, but it wasn't the same Zeshire from before. He spent most of the days of his nights crying. After staying in the hospital for a few months, and during that time, Zeshire slowly got used to the new body. Feeling odd and having a new body and the same mind at this event, it's hard to imagine and get used to. Imagine that feeling but multiplied by 11. He was still employed by the same company, however, and kept his post. He soon found out that many of his co-workers really didn't respect him or his title, nor wanted to be around him after the experiment. Find a new appearance disgusting, and those small slippery foods of his would be good or nothing. He may have gotten his nice bonus at the hospital deal, but he left for Ponyville for a fresh start. Now we can talk about his personality traits. Zeshire is a very sensitive pony. He wears his heart on his sleeve with anyone he's close to, and because of that, it can be easy for him to get hurt, especially if you know your way around him. Despite the fact that having a friendship with him, he can be a bit of a minefield. He's actually quite easygoing most of the time. Despite being very sensitive, he can be quite competitive in certain situations. School, his job, and political interests that he defends fiercely, much like a T-Rex protecting your food. He likes to discuss and argue his position, can be viewed as a bit stubborn because of this, perhaps a bit arrogant. He's also quite patient, especially when it comes to those that he works with or the emotions of others in his relationships he has. He likes to be tidy and always keep things organized, but it isn't destroyed if something becomes messy, only to a certain limit. Beyond the limits of messiness, he may appear frustrated or brash due to him being very annoyed at the untidiness of the room. He came out early in school that he was a gay stallion and never hides that fact. He's very open about it and not offended by questions or occasional jokes about it. He likes, as are follow, classic music, wine, history, politics, and science. His dislikes are poetry, too much social interactions, and getting hurt emotionally because of his sensitivity. Well, that was a look at this awesome OC. I wish them the best luck from their endeavors. Now it's time to end the video and hope that you, the faithful viewer, had a good time watching it. Now DJ, play us out! The music in this video was produced by B Key, a famous Brony musician in his own right, and the visual talents belong to ZarraProductions, a super talented artist in the community. Please support them by going to links in the video description. I hope you enjoyed their works as I did. Now remember to smile.